Warm greetings from the National E-Learning Center in Riyadh, capital of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm Zaid Turki. We are delighted to welcome each participant to today's webinar on open skilling, accelerating workforce readiness through open education as part of the Open Education Week 2025. Open skilling is transforming workforce development by offering scalable, accessible learning through open education principles, with proven success in driving employment via competency-based education, open credentials, and microlearning. However, realizing its full potential requires strong collaboration between governments, institutions, and industries to overcome adoption, recognition, and sustainability challenges, ultimately creating a more equitable and dynamic future for both learners and employers. It is with great pleasure to have with us today the Director General of the Arab Bureau of Education for the Gulf States, Dr. Saud Al-Salahi, who will be moderating this discussion. We are also delighted to welcome the distinguished panelists, Mr. Jeff McDonald, CSR Leader for EMEA at IBM Skills Build, Ms. Dana Doyle, Senior Director at MITx Online and Micromasters, Ms. Yitka Tamvoka, Education and Digital Equity Program Manager at HP. We thank these distinguished speakers for joining us today. So without further delay, we hand over the virtual floor to our moderator, Dr. Saud Al-Salahi.
Thanks, Zaid, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on open skilling, accelerating workforce readiness through open education. My name is, as introduced by my colleague, is Dr. Saud Al-Salahi, and I am honored to be your moderator today. As you know, that the way we work, the skills we need to thrive in our jobs, and the trajectories of our careers are rapidly evolving. These changes, driven by the technological innovation, demographics, shifting business models, and the nature of work, are significantly altering the skills demanded by the labor market. Over 1 in 4 adults surveyed in the OECD reported a mismatch between the current skills and the qualification required by the jobs. Furthermore, approximately 35% of the skills demanded for jobs across industries will change by 2025. Such skills mismatches and shifts have increased the need for adult skilling, reskilling, and upskilling throughout a person's career pathway. By making the appropriate investment for optimizing the potential of adult workforce at all stages of the career path, companies, governments, and societies can reap the benefits of productive, innovative, collaborative, as Zaid introduced, and experienced employees who continue to adapt and deliver over time. The speed at which jobs are changing and the capacity of adults to adapt are not uniform across countries. Each country has its policies, has its capacities, has its vision, so it depends on each country's vision. As we examine the importance of adult reskilling at a global level, it is crucial to understand how open skilling initiatives can bridge these gaps and accelerate workforce readiness. To make the most impactful investment, education ecosystems, stakeholders need to better understand what skills are readily available within the adult population, and also where the greatest skill gaps exist. Reskilling involves delivering the appropriate mix of both theoretical and applied learning methods at the right price, and understanding how these responsibilities can be best shared among diverse stakeholders. Finally, there is a need to understand and change the culture of learning and establish learning as a continuous and lifelong process. This entails inspiring learners to keep enhancing their skills and building motivation for embracing a change and empowered adaptation in the workplace. To explore these critical challenges and opportunities, we have an outstanding panel of experts who bring a wealth of experience in workforce development, digital education, and open skilling initiatives. Each of our speakers this evening brings unique insight into how open skilling can address workforce and challenges, enhance employability, and support lifelong learning. We have a great discussion ahead, and at the end, for each speaker, at the end of our three guests, we will have a panel discussion for about 20 minutes. Then I let the guest answer the question that has been written by you in the Q and A icons. Let us now start and introduce our first speaker, who is Dana Doyle, to begin by sharing her insights on today's webinar topic.
Great. Thank you for the introduction. Very honored to be here, and thank you for the invitation. So my name is Dana Doyle. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, United States at MIT. I have been working in open learning, which is a unit at MIT where we focus on open education. And I just want to say that I know there is a fairly broad definition of what open education means. There's the, 100% open education, which would be our open courseware, which is, I'll talk more about that in my presentation, all the way through what I manage, which is the MITx program, which is our MOOCs and MicroMasters. So again, thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to answering questions and sharing my presentation. So I will start by sharing my screen. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so let me make sure I am in the right order here. Okay, so I'm going to start off talking a little bit about our MITx MOOCs. And so as I mentioned earlier, I'm part of the open learning unit, which includes our open education efforts. And so what I'm going to focus is our MOOCs. And so we originally offered our MOOCs on edX.org. These started in about 2012, approximately. And they essentially first started off as full-length MIT courses. So these courses were about 12 weeks long and probably about 6 to 10 hours of effort a week. So these are very heavy-duty courses. This is not something that you're going to take a week to do and be able to check off a box somewhere. Like this is very rigorous material, also used by our MIT students. So a lot of our faculty actually use the same content, maybe with some randomization in order to address academic integrity, but you are doing the work of MIT students when you take these courses. Originally, there was an honor code certificate and an ID verified certificate. The honor code certificate was free. And the ID verified certificate was when you would show your identification to prove that it was you doing the course, and you would pay a small fee, usually somewhere around the order of $59 or $99 or something like that. So a fairly low price for the amount of work that you get to do. After a couple of years, the honor code certificates were deprecated, and there were only the paid certificates. And the MOOCs are designed really for individual learners. So when I talk a little bit more about the challenges of countries or companies adopting using MOOCs, I'll talk a little bit about the challenges there. In 2015, we introduced our MicroMasters program, which I have a couple of slides specifically about that because I think that's probably the most relevant to this conversation. Now, we've also talked about, or we'll be touching on micro credentials and micro learning. And honestly, we don't have a lot of that because a lot of the The courses that we have, as I said, are full-length courses, and we have invited our faculty to modularize them. But essentially that has not gotten to anything shorter probably than 3 weeks. So what would happen is a full-length course, let's say is 12 weeks, would be broken into 4 3-week smaller courses that then people could either take one part or they could take the second part if they don't need the first part. So it would give them the flexibility to be able to take what they wanted to take versus having to go through the entire course. Now, the MicroMasters is a grouping of graduate level courses and at least one proctored exam. The MicroMasters credential holders are eligible for credit upon acceptance at a number of universities across the globe, including MIT. And so the MicroMasters, as you can see here, so this is on where I pulled this from our website that talks about the MicroMasters. And as you can see, we promote it for advancing your career, accelerating your master's degree, being part of the MIT community, and growing your connections and networks around the world. For this, I'm going to focus on, let me talk a little bit about how it accelerates your master's, just to touch on that, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about advancing your career. So the master's program, so for example, right now we have 5 MicroMasters programs. Our most popular one is in supply chain management. And the way that works is it's a series of 5 courses, including a comprehensive proctored exam. And if the person succeeds in passing all 5 courses and the proctored exam, they get the MicroMasters credential. And if they want to, they can apply to the MIT on-campus program, which is a 1-year program. And the MicroMasters actually counts for the first half of this program. And I believe the price for the MicroMasters, each course is about $300. So you're looking at $1,500 for half a year of an MIT master's degree. Now, there are other pathway schools, I believe we have about 52 of them around the world, that offer similar paths to master's degrees using our credential from various of the 5 different programs that we have. So I want to talk a little bit about some success stories that we've had here. So one of our MicroMasters is the principles of manufacturing. So I'm not going to read through this whole thing. Maybe the slides will be shared out later, or you can look at the recording if you'd like to read the whole thing. But essentially, they're talking about how taking the courses helped this person in their work environment. And we hear a lot of that, where people are looking to sometimes change their career, or they're looking to move up in their career, or they just want to explore different options for their career paths. And so these courses actually address all of those needs, because if let's say you are interested in an area and you're not really 100% sure if that's what you want to do, or you're not really willing to invest a lot of time or money because you're just not sure, the MOOCs you can actually enroll in for free. And for MIT MOOCs, you can actually do, I would say, 90% of the content without paying any price at all. So it really allows you to explore the content area and see if it's right for you. And if it turns out that you do enjoy it, then you can pay for the certificate to get the summative exams, or earn the credential if you pass the course. Now, supply chain management, as I mentioned, is one of our more popular MicroMasters. It's the oldest one, so it probably has the biggest footprint as far as learner success. And so I have a couple other success stories here, and you'll see here that this would be somebody who started a new role, and they got increased responsibility and a pay bump based on the work that they had done in their MicroMasters. And then we also have somebody who was able to start their own company using what they learned in their supply chain management MicroMasters. Another interesting model that we have is the data economics and design of policy. And so we have a lot of people taking this MicroMasters who are interested in either furthering their careers or changing their careers. And this one actually has an interesting price structure where I'll call it the sticker price, which is the highest price, is $1,000 a course. That is our highest price for a course that we have. But that said, there is a sliding scale based on your household income. So that actually has a I would call it a financial assistance process where you can either pay the full amount if you do not want to participate in the process, but if you're looking for a lower price, you simply supply some information. The team here takes a look at the information you provided and will give you a new price, which could be all the way down to $200 per course. So this is to allow as many people access to the credential as possible. And I would say the average price actually comes out to be $250 a course. Now, I did want to touch a bit on what the usage of MOOCs could be in competency-based education. Now, the MicroMasters, again, using supply chain as an example, I would say is a 80% competency based, because you are required to pass the courses in order to get the credential. But what really is the key thing to pass is the comprehensive exam. And part of that is because as I move forward, you'll see that again, I'll mention again, academic integrity is a big concern of ours, especially because these programs can lead to entry into a master's program. And so obviously you don't want somebody getting into your master's program who did not actually pass the material. Now, some of the collaboration challenges that we have seen, because basically we've been trying to strike this balance of academic rigor and contextual learning, and a clear path through the way that you learn about different topics and earning credentials is, so these are the challenges that we come across because we've been working on this for a few years now and we keep hitting up against the same thing. And I'm sure that other people will be familiar with these as well. So the first thing is the inconsistent credential types. So there are so many different types of credentials out there that it's really hard for employers to know what's a legitimate credential and what is not. What is something that somebody just goes to a website and pays $10 and gets a credential versus something that took somebody an enormous amount of work to complete, or something that is just legitimate and actually represents something that they've learned. The other thing, and again, this ties into the inconsistent credential type, is there's various levels of content, and we actually have this issue on edX.org already. So as I mentioned, some of our courses are very long and very intense, but you get the same credential, like it looks the same as something that might be 2 weeks long. So you might have a 13-week MIT course that takes 10 hours a week to do, and the credential looks exactly the same as somebody that had a 1-week course that had 2 hours of work in it. So that makes it, again, and there's no indication on the credential of how much time was actually spent or what the credential shows. There isn't a course description. You really only get the course title, which can be misleading because, like today, probably everybody's title has AI in it, but maybe like AI is only mentioned once in there versus a course that actually is about AI. So we've seen that be a bit of an issue, and that even affects our credentials of, it may have the MIT brand on it, but if they don't know what is involved in getting the credential, it's not always given the weight that we think it should be. And again, as I touched on before, academic integrity is an issue for us. It was already challenging before ChatGPT, and now it is very challenging to, especially at scale, to be able to identify who's actually doing the work and who is not. And that's why we have the proctored exams for our MicroMasters, but even that can be pretty challenging because that's at scale. So these are online proctored exams. And if any of you have taken an online proctored exam, they are very challenging, very technically intensive, just to get it running. So that's not even including the course content. That's literally just taking the exam can be very difficult and requires a lot of support. And it is not foolproof by any stretch of the imagination. And for collaboration, there's also the administration. So for example, with our MOOCs, like those are made for individual learners. So if you have a company or an institution that wants to have 30 of their people go through the same course, right now, all we can offer is a bulk purchase so that they can at least purchase all the seats at the same time. But there is not a way for that administrator at that company to see how their learners are doing, rather than just asking the learner how they're doing, which, may not always be suitable. And the other thing that I think stands out with micro-credentialing and micro-learning is pathways of learning. Because let's say you are dropped into, a search engine and it serves you up a particular piece of content. It takes it out of context. And so for some people, that's fine. But for some people, without the context of the surrounding education that maybe not required, but would certainly be beneficial, sometimes that's missing because, again, everything is being served up in these little bite-sized pieces, and then the whole entire context and picture starts to get lost, which is something that obviously we would like to avoid. So that's that constant struggle between bite-sized content and larger context. And that is the end of my presentation. I don't know if I went for 15 minutes or not. I think I went a little short, but I think that'll be fine because we'll have questions later. So I'm going to pass it over to Itka. Thank you. And let me stop sharing my screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Jake, excuse me. I have a message to the audience. لو سمحتم بالله بشأن الأسئلة، من لديه أسئلة فليكتبها في البوكس Q&A. شكرا. Yes, welcome, Jake.
Thank you. And hello, everyone. I'm honored and delighted to be with you tonight to talk about the open education, which is very close to my heart as a topic. So my name is Jitka Tomkova. I'm driving digital education practice in HP and globally. So let me take you first on I would like to share with you some thoughts about education, and starting with what are the big changes in the education as a whole, because the education sector is truly going through tremendous transformation. So I would like to summarize in a couple of minutes first what are the key trends which are shaping this sector, and particularly in context of the open education. So I usually present this slide with the perspective of, first of all, what are the trends from the perspective of the innovation impact? And secondly, what is the adoption speed of that innovation? So blended learning, together with digitalization of the content, creates opportunity to create flipped classroom. And this allows the students to be more and more in charge of their learning journey. And in consequence of that learning becomes more and more module and micro-credentialed. The AI and generative AI I see more opportunity here to actually create a truly tailored teaching and learning, nearly at the power of one. The campuses are now becoming truly boundaryless, and I think if there is one innovation which will truly democratize the learning, it's probably virtual reality. Within what I call the disruptive trends, there are two. And the first one is big tech partnerships together with academia. So probably on top of your mind, you might think about Microsoft, about Google partnering with some of the big academia, but HP is as well doing something similar. And that for creating the career pathways and the right profiles for the future of the work. The one topic that I like a lot is actually about gaming, because gaming is a very interesting platform which capture a lot the attention of the students, but we can actually capture it as well positively. They are on the platform and we can transform this passion for as well learning and passing the information. And finally, if I'm thinking about what's on the top of those transformation trends, it will be probably education as a service. And I'm sure that very soon we are going to see someone who is going to reinvent kind of the Netflix in the education as a service solution for the lifelong learning. So open education, going back to our topic, is born from the idea of democratizing the learning for the benefit of all, enabled by the technology, and most of it is actually mentioned here in the foundation layer of this slide. And it's growing over the past few years, and I'm sure that one of the big trends and triggers for this growth is actually the partnership between the private companies and the academia, which are creating the programs which are driving the engagement and the application in the work which is coming. So in HP, we know that technology can be truly a great equalizer and a very powerful tool to drive progress in the education. But it's not only about the technology, it's really about equipping the individuals with the skills to actually use the technology. So one of our programs that I would like to introduce to you today is HP Gaming Garage, which is bringing the gaming media and ICT industry skill set to the young people, but not only. It can be used as well for the current workforce that wants to upskill. So what is HP Gaming Garage? So HP Gaming Garage is actually a program, curated program, which is encouraging students to learn more about what is game design, game programming, esports management, and preparing them for the career in both industries, so gaming and esports, but not only, as well in media and ICT industry, because all the skills that they are going to learn through those programs are actually very much transferable. So looking into your beautiful country of Saudi, this program is fitting very well with your strategy, the strategy which is the National Gaming and Esports Strategy Plan, which is part of the Vision 2030. And when it comes to implementing in program, I always believe that the best is really going through as much as possible local partnership. So here, and I'm going to talk about the ecosystem and the role of each of the partner. So we are partnering with several institutions. So one of them is, of course, National E-Learning Center that is hosting us today, but not only, Saudi Electronic University, Human Resource Development Fund, and as well, very recently, we have as well signed collaboration with Tuwait Academy and Saudi Games. I think you have heard as well, Dana, talking about the role of micro-credentials. So this program is micro-credentialed by the learning management system, which is hosting us, which is actually edX. But on top, we have been working with the National E-Learning Center, MCIT, and Saudi Electronic University to have micro-credentials for Saudi. So every student who is taking and successfully completing the course can get actually the credentials, the credit against their undergraduate degree. So I think one of your questions on top of your mind is, how does success look like? I think the first step in understanding the success of the program is looking at the number of the students who are enrolling. So here we are capturing the first level of attention. And I have to admit that this program was extremely successful for us, because since 14 months when we have launched it, we have been able to see more than 27,000, 28,000 students who enrolled into the program, basically from every single country in the world, so 190 countries. And Saudi Arabia is not an exception. It's actually one of the top countries, number 5 country in terms of enrollment into the program. I've been talking about the curriculum. So we talk about 4 courses, which are very intense. So similar to what Dana has been describing, there are many different courses which exist on the market. Our objective was to bring something which is solid, rich in terms of the content, and taking the students in depth of the topic. So 4 courses is each of them between 15 to 25 modules altogether. The curriculum is, of course, the core of the program, but we are as well looking about how do we enrich the students' experience and application of the program in physical spaces. So we have built as well several labs which are creating this physical incubation with the students across the world. And part of the application process, which tends to be actually very successful, is bring the students from learning to application through hackathon, which we have as well ran in Saudi last year, and you can see some of the pictures on the right-hand side. So I've been talking about the curriculum being the core of the course of the entire program. So we are talking about today 4 courses: esports management, game design, game programming, and last year we have as well launched generative AI in game development. There will be 5th course, which is coming later this year, focusing again in gaming, but on blockchain and cybersecurity. So you see, we are trying to enrich the given ecosystem. So students which are coming and learning through the gaming door is actually enriching continuously the knowledge of the given ecosystem of gaming. Each and every course goes quite in depth of every topic. So here an example of eSport management among all the others. We take them through what is the technology, the platforms, different roles that they can take to how do you actually operate an event. And every single course, so programming, design, and as well generative AI and game development, takes the students in the same depth. So despite HP being a technology company, we are not a university. We are not having that knowledge. So we are partnering with faculty professors for every single course. So here example of Kevin Raja for eSport management, for programming. I really enjoyed working closely with Jan Schreiber. Those of you who might happen to enjoy game design might know this name, because he's a co-founder of the Global Game Jam. He has written several books, and he's teaching on game design faculties. One of them is SCAD, which is one of the top faculties for game design globally. So implementing program like HP Gaming Garage is not a question of putting courses on edX and expecting that the students will take it and there will be an impact, significant impact. The path we are taking, the approach that we are taking in Saudi, but as well in other countries, is we have a conversation with the key partners in the ecosystem of the country and education. So we start with ministries. We start to present the program, how it can fit the objectives of the given country. So the national gaming and esports strategy is an example of it in Saudi. We propose as well support in terms of train-the-trainer program, and eventually as well supporting to build up that physical infrastructure if it's needed. So the partnership that I'm talking about, let me give you a concrete example. So there might be some of partnerships which are intergovernmental. The examples here are not necessarily only for Saudi. YMCA is a global organization focusing on developing the youth. UNDP, here in this context, we are actually talking about UNDP together with Al Ghurair Foundation program in UAE, which, similar to Saudi, has as well a strong focus on developing gaming industry in the country and upskilling the Emiratis. So with them, we are actually launching a program that will be running for 2 years for a 6 months cohort. And finally, some of you might recognize Digital Cooperation Organization. with whom we have just recently, 2 weeks ago, signed partnership on deploying the program across all 16 countries of all the partner countries. So the other partners, and the list is here not exclusive, these are just the most recent partnerships we have signed, is in Saudi with Human Resource Development Fund, which has the interest in HP Gaming Garage, once again for reskilling, most importantly, or upskilling the youth, which wants to enter the labor world. To Wake Academy, which is really focusing on skilling young people on advanced technology. With them, we will be launching shortly a bootcamp, which is providing actually out of self-paced curriculum, creating 2 weeks bootcamp for the students. And finally, with Savvy Games, this is actually the last mile. If one of the question is how do we actually ensure that learning is moving into actually a workspace or even creating a company, then Savvy Games is actually the last mile, which is helping basically in the kingdom to go into the incubator and through the investors enable creation of the company. So with them, HP Gaming Garage is helping to create that necessary funnel of students or professionals that will enter into their incubator and hopefully will create new companies for the gaming industry. More partnerships, so we cannot neglect the existing academical space. So with Saudi Electronic University, we have created a physical space and we plan to do more in terms of upskilling programs. And these are real pictures of the Gaming Garage Lab, which we have launched in June last year. And thanks to great support of National E-Learning Center, we were able to create a micro-credential status, micro-degree credentials for the entire program specifically to Saudi. I talk about it a little bit in the beginning, is when we think about learning, it's always good to create the next step, the application, and make it part of the program and of the process for the student. So in the countries, and Saudi is part of them, where we see a strong pickup of students on learning, we open up a process of gaming hackathon. This is a 3-month process where students start with learning, but from learning and coaching, they will actually get ready to create a prototype of the game. So last year, we have focused on a theme which is culture, code, and creativity. In other words, bring your culture to code a game with your creativity, unleash your creativity. So, and the sub-theme was create a path between the old capital of Diraya and the two new capital of Neom. Last but not least is the program was, and I'm very proud of it, was recognized as the best CSR program at the Jazz Education last year in Dubai, which creates a lot of goodwill in the space, and we are very proud of it. So with that, I hope I brought you over the past 15 minutes some insights, hopefully some inspiration too, about how you can leverage open education in your country. And with these words, thank you for your attention, and I will hand over to my next colleague speaker, Jeff McDonald. Jeff, to you.
Thanks, Yitka, and good evening, everyone. Let me just open up my presentation, share it with you. There we go. Into presenter mode. Okay. So first of all, thank you to the National E-Learning Centre for this opportunity to share some of the experiences and learnings from IBM's open skilling initiatives, and I'll share tonight with you some of the learning globally, but also specifically some of the learning we've had over the past year in developing some of our programs in Saudi Arabia. And I guess the starting point for me is to recognize that when we do it right, technology has the potential to be a truly transformative force that can really drive positive change in the world, whether that be for individuals, for businesses, or for wider society. And in particular, as we begin to harness the power of AI, technology, as we all know, is going to increasingly impact every aspect of our daily lives, both personally and at work. And therefore, it's vitally important that we take more and more of an open skilling approach to ensure that all citizens have the opportunity to benefit from AI and other emerging technologies. And this is very much the belief that's at the heart of IBM's approach to skilling. For over a century, IBM has been at the forefront of technological innovation, right from the earliest days of computing. We tried to blend intelligence, innovation, science for the benefit of business, society, and the overall human experience. And with AI now growing in its impact every day, really represents an exciting new era in that journey for us and other technology companies. But we really recognize that the successful use of AI and other new emerging technologies really requires that individuals possess the requisite skills to maximize the potential that it offers. And for the IBM CSR team that I lead, our mission is very much to empower workforces and global learners to thrive in what will increasingly be a tech-enabled future. And clearly, this mission is very aligned with the goals of the Kingdom's Vision 2030 ambitions, where digital skills are a key component of that future vision. So if I talk about IBM Skills Build, which is the program that we offer to bring this open skilling to the world, we set ourselves an ambitious global target. Our aim is to skill 30 million people by 2030 globally. And more recently, we set ourselves a specific target of skilling 2 million people in AI by 2026. And Saudi Arabia is a really important part of this mission. We signed an MOU with the MCIT in 2022 to skill 100,000 Saudi citizens by 2027. And I'm pleased to say that we're already well on our way to achieving that number. And at the heart of that is our IBM Skills Build education program. It's very much the foundation of that program is a free online learning platform. And the learning platform itself offers a vast array of courses in technology. We have over 1,000 courses in 20 languages, including Arabic. And through those courses, learners can earn digital credentials that are industry recognized. And across the courses we offer, we have different levels of courses that meet the needs of the different learners. So whether that be high school students, university students, adult learners, as well as providing resources for teachers and faculty. And that learning content itself covers a broad range of emerging tech. So you won't be surprised to hear that includes AI, but also data analytics, cybersecurity. But beyond the technology courses, we also cover some of the essential core workplace skills, so things such as project management, agile working, design thinking, and other materials really to support learners important in being job ready. Because we recognize that successful careers are built in both the technical and those softer human skills. And the content, the courses that we offer in Skills Build are available in the introductory level, intermediate level, all the way through to more advanced levels. So really trying to make sure that what we offer suits the needs of all, and really trying to encourage a learning journey as people find something they're interested in and move through those different levels. So it's really about the foundational knowledge and job relevant skills. And the offerings that we give really are coming from a belief in a skills first approach to hiring. So we're trying to encourage employers to look at candidates' skills, their ability to learn, and not just formal qualifications. And as I mentioned earlier, really trying to promote that culture of continual learning with the individuals, and also encouraging organizations to promote that perspective as well. And IBM Skills Build itself, we deliberately designed it to offer tools and approaches that make learning as accessible as possible. So hugely important, it's free. So there's no cost barrier to that learning. It's online, digital, and very flexible. It engages and encourages learners to continually seek to do more learning. So we have elements in the platform that support that, such as the courses being stackable, digital credentials to motivate people to take the courses, to complete the courses, and AI generated recommendations with further learning. So as learners navigate through the platform, they're constantly given incentives and suggestions to further learning. Important, and this has been touched on by the other speakers, we also recognize the vital role of partnership approach to skilling. And we work with many government bodies and NGOs in Saudi Arabia, many of them already mentioned. And we also, where we can, try and collaborate with other tech industry partners, because this is not a competitive space. We're all trying to deliver positive impact. So where there is an opportunity to work together, collaborate, share resources and knowledge, we do that. I mentioned earlier that we have an MOU with MCIT, and we work closely with the Minister on a number of different skilling initiatives. And in addition, and part of that, we're working with the National E-Learning Centre as an important strategic partner for our skilling initiatives. And our learning content is hosted on the NELC FutureX platform. And through NELC, we're working with a number of important partners in the Kingdom. So, for example, through the FutureX platform, we're supporting the Samaya initiative from Ministry of Education, Sadaya. And that mission, obviously, hugely important, with the aim of skilling 1 million Saudi citizens in AI. And in addition, we will also be working with the National Institute for Educational Professional Development, using learning content, again, hosted on the FutureX platform, to support teachers learn about key skills, so cybersecurity, AI, data, cloud, and so on. And also those teachers can in turn impart that knowledge to their pupils. For me, one of the key learnings, I think, over the past year or so in the work we're doing in Saudi, is how important these partnerships are. Because as I mentioned earlier, we've got a lot of content, but we really need to work with local partners and their platforms and programs if we want to connect with local learners. And it's only clearly when those learners use our content that we can make any kind of positive impact in the Kingdom. So I would say if there's anyone out there that is an organization with learners that could benefit from any of our IBM content and programs, I'd love to hear from you. It's free, it's available. Our mission is to skill as many people as possible, and we will only do that when we work collaboratively with partners. We know we've got a target of 100,000 learners to reach, but with the right partnerships, I'm sure that we can bring even more value and impact to the Kingdom. I wanted to touch on one specific type of learning program that we've been running in Saudi Arabia. As well as the self-paced content that we offer on the SkillsWheel platform, a very successful part of our learning offer has been what we call guided learning experiences, or GLEs for short. The slide I'm sharing highlights the details of our AI fundamentals GLE, but we offer these learning experiences for other topics such as cybersecurity and data analytics. And as the name suggests, these learning experiences provide additional guidance and support to learners. And it's very much a blend of our core self-paced learning, but with online instructor-led webinars and additional learner support. And to consolidate the learning within the GLEs, we also include hands-on labs, capstone projects, to really put the learning into practice. It's not purely theory, try to make it as practical as we can. So these are cohort-based training courses for adults, designed to encourage the learners go through the self-paced SkillsWheel content while providing that live virtual asynchronous help, additional information, demos, guidance, and ultimately the motivation of digital credentials at the end of the process. The GLEs themselves have a fixed start and end date, but within it we then have weekly objectives. We have the live virtual interactions that I talked about. And there still is a lot of flexibility within it. So it's still something that learners can fit around their lives, their study, their work, whatever it is. And it also, I think, importantly, creates a sense of community. So learners don't feel as though they're going through this on their own. I mean, the cohorts themselves can actually be large. It can involve multiple thousands of learners. But within that experience, everything is designed to provide an individual tailored experience with individual support where it's required. And from the orientation sessions at the start through weekly check-ins, any ad hoc help resources, it's all about helping the learner to successfully complete the learning and gain the valuable practical experience and ultimately the digital credential that is at the end of the GLE. And it's important we talk about job readiness, and the benefit of a GLE is because it includes some practical skills, some tangible outputs. This is all really useful to help learners stand out and prove their competence when they're applying for job roles. The GLEs typically run for 4 weeks, as you can see from the example on the screen, so that they're not too onerous a commitment. In a typical 4-week GLE, we're talking about sort of 15 to 20 hours, so roughly about 5 hours a week. So it's definitely doable and something you can fit around your work or other study commitments. And some GLEs can be longer. We do have some that are 10 weeks, and some can be shorter. We sometimes run GLEs that are simple 2-hour webinars. So real flexibility to meet different needs of different learners out there. But importantly, one of the positives that come out of the GLEs we're running is with all the extra help, the demos, the encouragement that they offer, we're seeing significantly improved completion rates, which can often be up to 10 times higher than the average for a traditional self-paced course. So I think a strong sign that what we're offering is meeting the needs of learners and delivering real value. So as you can see from my final chart, we're offering a strong program of GLEs across the year, including towards the final quarter of the year, AI content specifically targeting university students. And a reminder, all of our SkillsWheel programs are free and open. So if any of this content is of interest to you or your learners, please reach out. And in addition, during 2025, we will be continuing to update the content on the core SkillsWheel platform, including, importantly, much more new content in Arabic, because we recognize that, yes, many learners in Saudi Arabia are happy to use English content, but clearly the more Arabic content, the wider the impact that we can deliver across the kingdom. So in conclusion, I hope that you can see IBM passionately believes in the value of open skilling and is committed to supporting Saudi citizens, whether it be in schools, university, home, in the workplace, on their learning journeys. And such an approach, open skilling, open education, really is vital because AI is going to transform jobs. And multiple studies are suggesting that 80% plus of our work tasks will be influenced by AI. Yet the vast majority of workers don't have the necessary skills to meet this change yet. So we really need to embrace a different approach to learning and skilling. It needs to be much more open, much more flexible. And importantly, with the speed that AI is moving, really the content needs to be updated on a continuous basis. And partnerships in skilling and education are going to be key, with citizens adopting a habit of hopefully lifelong learning to deliver ongoing upskilling and reskilling. And at IBM, we really look forward to supporting that journey. So I hope what I've shared has been insightful and useful. Thank you for listening, and I now hand back to Dr. Saud.
Thanks, Jeff, and thanks for all of our speakers for this evening's webinar, which tackles the importance of accelerating workforce readiness through open education courses, and also from the business point of view. You have all of you have introduced, for example, the MIT, HP, and IBM macro credentials and how they are important for skilling and upskilling the skills of adult educations and how can this impact on their career pathways. Now let us begin our panel discussion, and we have about 20 minutes time. I will ask a question which can be answered by all of you. I will start with the same, Dana first, then Jaka, then Jeff. The question is, how do we measure the success of open skilling programs in terms of actual workforce impact? Are there any key metrics should educators, businesses, employers, policymakers focus on? So let's start by Dana.
Sure. In our experience, we do, specifically for the MicroMasters, just because that has our most supportive services. When we have companies that sign up to have their employees enroll in our program or in any of our courses, there's some basic metrics of, did they open the course? Did they look at it? Did they use it? So there's some very basic metrics where, that's the first step of success is, did they actually engage with the content? And then I think probably, much like anything else that you do at your office, there are various metrics and in an uncontrolled environment, it would be hard to completely identify what causes success, but you can certainly look at things that may contribute to success. So for example, if you were tracking, let's say you're at a company and you have a dashboard where you can see who has enrolled in these materials, and then take a look at their performance review. Is it having an impact on their engagement at work? Are they participating more? But I don't think that there really is a comprehensive data check to see if like a KPI or something. Like there may be, but I think that really it comes down to how individuals are using what they learned to advance in their careers. And so you probably could take that at a macro level at some point and be like, 50 people took this online material and 40 of them got a promotion in the next year. That would be a very, basic example of looking at success. But as I said, there could be many things. It may just be the person's type of personality that got them because they are a self-starter and ready to go, and maybe the credential helped in that, but not as much as you would have expected. So I think you really need a holistic view of not just the credential itself, but the person who has acquired the credential and how they've used it.
I think just to echo what Dana was saying, when it comes to open learning or any learning at all, right? There is a first step of tracking the completeness of the curriculum. So this is we tick the box. Okay, the course has been completed and we assume it was absorbed and is ready for the application. So the holy grail of being able to link the completion of the course with the employability. So this is enabled only in the moment when the partnership goes beyond the learning itself. So I have described an example of creating a pathway from learning to application which can go into incubation, creating a product which is leveraging this learning and which can create opportunity for internship, job, or creating a company. So in this case, we can extend the KPIs to what everyone, I think, would love to hear, is that the learning has created actually a job or opportunities for employability. It happens, some of our programs and implementation allows it, but I think I agree with Dana, it's more an exception than the rule. But we always hope that aligned with the strategy of the government, of the ministry, we target the right space, right? That's where we infuse all the energy to do so. Maybe Jeff, you have some more thoughts about that from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I just to build on what Yuka and Dana have said, it's a difficult task to measure the job impact, and one of the big reasons for that is it's not normally one piece of skilling that will make the difference. It's a combination of many different inputs that help someone to get a job. There may be some instances when there's a direct linear route, but quite often it's a combination of multiple factors. So quite often what we do is to take metrics that are sort of further up the funnel of that journey. So, you know, as Dana mentioned, you know, you can look at numbers in terms of how much engagement there is in starting courses, completing courses, you know, how many people actually choose to apply for the credentials. So they're proxy measures to I guess the effectiveness. We do have instances where we can identify people who have got a job or employment, but it's never usually solely our skilling. We're normally one part of a collective effort. So it is the holy grail, and you know, we love to see the impact that learning can make on someone's lives, but it tends to be more qualitative than quantitative.
Mm.
I agree with what all you introduced, and I think, you know, the effectiveness of open skilling programs can reduce the gaps between the future skills and also the workforce needs. And this needs a lot of collaboration between businesses, government, policymakers, and also the workforce, employers. And this leads me to the second question that also I need all of you to answer is collaboration between academia, industry, and government is key to workforce development. What are the most effective ways to strengthen partnership that enhance open skilling initiative between those stakeholders? Again, can I start with Jika first now?
Thank you, Dr. Esau. I think the success of partnership and strengthening it starts with having a healthy foundation. In the partnership, everyone understands what the role is, and we build on the strengths of each and every partner. So let me give you an example. We often work with example of UNDP and our program in UAE. UNDP is our pedagogical partner who actually brings all the execution on the ground and deploys the program. We HP, we provide the knowledge, so the curriculum, and as well certain expertise and partnerships that we infuse in addition into the program. So ecosystem of industry partners, or other experts that can actually bring a value. And finally, Algorai Foundation, which is actually bringing the government the focus on the given topic, in this case, gaming, and very clearly articulate what the objectives are and how to achieve it, right? So every party has a clear role, and every party brings what they can based on the strengths that they are having, the expertise. And I think developing this partnership, this is just a virtual circle where working this way together with clarity and transparency is making the partnership even stronger.
Yes, thanks, Jessica. Jeff, if you can add to this.
Yeah, very, very similar points to Yuka. I mean, I think it's recognizing that the different partners bring their different skills, their different experiences, their different perspectives, different resources, and it is the collective that is more powerful than the individual. I think success often comes from finding what is that shared goal where we kind of can unite behind. I tend to think in geometric shapes, so I think of this as a Venn diagram. So when the circles overlap, that magic space in the middle is where the magic happens. And once you have that shared goal that you're all collectively aiming towards, what are you individually bringing to help deliver that goal? And then beyond that, I think it's how you work together. So, you know, have a open, positive attitude, and, you know, be very open to listen and respect the differences, because it is the differences that make that collaborative approach most powerful.
Yes, thanks, Jeff. Dana, if you can add to the importance of collaboration.
Yeah, so agree with everything that has been said. The only thing that I will add is what we have found is between working with governments who tend to be looking more for general population training to get people either into jobs or to help them have mobility within their jobs, versus partnering with a company who has a very set group of people, you know, and it may be people at different levels, but they're all at the same company, so they all have maybe the same type of culture, and the company has a definition of what they're looking for. So if you're looking at more of, let's say, a government that's looking at their general population, one of the things that we have found is absolutely necessary is somebody who's local to the people that you're trying to reach. Because, you know, different localities have different cultures, different situations, different things to deal with. You know, you may be working with you know, an older generation who's trying to get back into the workforce. They would have very different needs than a young workforce who's just getting into, how do I work? What do I do? And so in many cases, it's not just the content, you know, but as we spoke before, there's a whole bunch of other things that need to be there, you know. So let's say you have a full-time job and you are trying to change your career or grow in your job. That's very different than somebody who, you know, isn't working at the moment and has all, you know, has the time during the day to work on these things because, you know, maybe I'm working 12 hours a day and I can't afford to spend 15 hours a week working on a credential versus somebody else who can. So it's really working at that local level to understand the situations that people are in and trying to address those as evenly as you can, because as I said, they can be quite different. So it may even be more restrictive cohorts so that you have people building community, because it's also really important. That sometimes is said to be missing when you're doing asynchronous online learning. So again, you know, to everybody's point, is really finding those right partners who can do the things that you cannot do, and understanding that you cannot do everything and you are not an expert in everything. At least I know I'm not, and I know that MIT is not, and we really rely on the localities to tell us what we don't know.
Yes, thank you, Dana. And also, as you mentioned, also to give a hint from a national point of view, I mean, in Saudi Arabia, many entities, they have working towards achieving the vision of 2030 for skilling and upskilling human, potentials. For example, the National Electronic Center, the Education and Training Evaluation Commission, also the Human Resources Development Fund, with ministries of education, which is public and higher education, with universities. All of these entities should collaborate together in order to upskill the can say the adult education to match what is the labor needs outside. Thank you very much for answering the first two questions, and now I will go directly to one of each of you according to what you present from your presentation. Let me start by Jeff, to be fair now. Jeff, you mentioned AI in your presentation. AI, is a hot topic in tech skilling. Any thoughts on how to maximize the potential from this new technology in upskilling the potentials of adult education?
Yeah, and I touched on it in the presentation. AI is this amazing technology, but without the skill set to unlock the potential, we will only scratch the surface. And I think one of the important learnings is to recognize there are very different types of segments when it comes to learners. And we talk about at IBM the builders and the users. And what we mean by that is the builders are the technicians, the people who need to have the deep technical skills to build and make AI work for organizations. But actually the vast majority of people are what we call the users, the rest of us who will use whatever those technicians build. And without the effective use of the users, the technology really, or the power, the potential of technology is wasted. So whether it's basic prompting skills to get the most out of it, whether it's the critical thinking skills to understand and evaluate the outputs that the models deliver, and even just the basics to understand how AI works, including some of the important elements like the risks and the ethics involved with it. So all of us will be using AI. We're already using AI, so really need to understand the basics. And what's interesting is even in academia, it's actually quite a narrow focus on AI courses. There's one study recently that analyzed AI course in academia and found that 80% of the AI courses still focused on traditional STEM fields and economics, so really around technical and analytic fields. But actually the potential is way wider. It's beginning to change, but it's surprising how slowly. And obviously AI continues to evolve at such a fast pace. So the other thing for me that's really important is the learning content has to evolve quickly to remain relevant. And that's a great example where partnerships are important, because technology companies such as IBM are moving at pace. We have to move at pace. And it's really difficult for academia, for education to keep up with that pace. But we can help support academia by bringing those rapid updates in content.
Thank you, Jeff, for this. Let me go now to Dana. Dana, you mentioned some macro credential and micro masters such as and MITx. How to convince both policymakers and those in the field, the businesses and workforce entities, that they are very important to workforce readiness, these initiatives?
It's one of those things where, and I mentioned the supply chain micromasters, which has been going for 10 years now. And quite honestly, it took several years for the credential to actually be acknowledged as having the weight that it does. And it really, I think, comes down to, there's promotion, just like letting people know that it exists and what is it. Because I often get, for when people are applying for jobs, in some cases, there's a reference check sometimes, and they've put in their application or whatever that they have this MITx MicroMasters credential, and And they're very proud of it because it can take years to earn it, right? Because it's 5 courses, people are working. So it's a monumental effort to get one of these credentials. But if people don't know what that means or what's in it, it's practically useless, you know? So I do sometimes get questions from employers of like, well, what is this? You know, which I enjoy getting because then I let them know, and then now they know for anybody who has it. But really it's one of those things of what comes first, right? Is the adoption by the company to acknowledge it, or the making of the credential, you know, because it actually takes time for people to appreciate what people have learned by earning the credential. So it really, in our case, because we don't have a lot of promotion around the MicroMasters, it's really been a learning experience for the companies and institutions. And once they get somebody who has one, they tend to say, oh, wow, that really does make a difference. And it really does show that this person is capable to work here because they were able to accomplish this macro credential.
Yes, thank you, Dana. And this, your answer goes back, I think, to the importance of what you answered previously in question 2 about collaboration between industry and government to be together, sit together and acknowledge any challenges that meet these initiatives to be, I mean, one of the fundamentals of the graduates from, secondary education, higher education, or even in their career pathways. So thank you, Dana, for your answer. Let's go back to Jetica. You presented in your presentation, which you call Tsunami of a Change in Education. How do you see the pace of a change affecting the traditional educational models, and what should an institution do to keep up?
Let me give 2 answers. So, what institutions should do at tactical level, I think it's more adopting the way how students want to absorb the learning, so module learning, and provide more and more micro-credentials or stackable degrees, because this is the way how actually students, in the end, the target audience want to go through the learning journey. I think that's more the tactical recommendation. I have more strategical, and this is a little bit echoing what Jeff was mentioning. The changes that education is exposed today, particularly with the rise of AI, generative AI, which in my opinion truly accelerated everything what already started earlier. I think the institution should not try to just face it alone. There are a lot of partners they can go with, right? And IBM, HP, or MITx are just some of those partners that you can go with. There is a say in my country, which is, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And I think that would be more the second recommendation to institution, how to face everything that's happening in the education. Collaboration, partnerships.
Yes, thank you very much. Also, you go back to our second question of importance of collaboration. Let's go back to Jeff. Jeff, you know, many studies have shown that there is a mismatch between the academia learning outcomes and real world industry demands. How, from your point of view, in what ways can open education platform help bridge this gap? And if you can give us some examples from your IBM Skills Build initiatives.
Sure. So I think there's many different ways that it can do it. So I mean, one of the obvious ways is to make sure that what we deliver is job relevant content. And obviously industry partners should naturally be able to bring that insight, those real world examples. So IBM Skills Build, you know, we deliberately designed some of the courses based on what we know the demand is in the industry. And in particular, we try and build courses around entry-level roles, because we recognize that a lot of the people that use our platform are at the beginning of their careers, and so we find that sort of content and the impact that can have is hugely valuable. I think the other thing, and this really echoes what I said earlier about AI, is the speed of updating content, because tech moves so quickly now. I know from talking to faculty, they struggle to stay up to speed with what's happening. So open platforms are a great source of that more up-to-date content, and can easily complement what faculty are delivering, and they can easily send students there for particular pieces of learning. I think the other thing that we do a lot, and again, I mentioned this when I was talking about the GLE, the guided learning experiences, is to try and provide that bridge between theory and practice. So making sure that there are capstone projects in the guided learning experiences. And we also do that frequently with universities. We will work with universities and bring them real life problems for their students to work on. So we often work with our client partners, and we will bring real challenges, problems that our client partners have, and have student groups work on them. And it's a real win-win. So the students are working on something that is a real world problem. The clients are getting a different perspective on some of their challenges, and so that's something that has huge value to everyone involved. And I think the last thing, just briefly I touch on, is sometimes where we can help make that gap between the world of academia and industry. It's just a reality of entering work life. So quite often what we'll do is we'll host webinars with either subject matter experts, or just webinars to allow IBMers or client partners to have career discussions, because just having that opportunity to talk to someone who's already in the workplace and understand some of the strange things we do in the workplace that you just never think about when you're growing up, you're going through academia. Even something as simple as that can be valuable.
Yes, I totally agree, Jeff, with what you answer about the importance of what you have mentioned. Dana, you have in your experience, long experience, like MOOCs and MicroMasters initiatives, what lesson can be learned from MIT approach to open education?
It should be free. Honestly. I mean, so we have OpenCourseWare, which I know I didn't talk about a lot, but so OpenCourseWare is I think they're having their 25-year anniversary next year. And OpenCourseWare is it's course material, right? So if an MIT professor wants to, they can share as much of their course material as they want on OpenCourseWare. And so that could include a syllabi, a reading list, lecture notes, assessments, all kinds of things. But these are essentially flat files. And sometimes they're videos of lectures. And we have a lot of people, including MIT students, and it was really built for educators to use at their institutions, but actually mainly it's been individual learners, about 70%. And so they come and they access whatever material they want. It has something like over 2,000 MIT courses on it. And it's like courses, I say, is actually courseware from the courses. Now the MITx courses, which are the MOOCs, so that's a full course experience. And on edX.org, several years ago, they made a change where when you sign up for a course, the original intent was that the course is free. And you can pay for an ID verified certificate if you pass. And then what they did is they basically put up they call it feature-based enrollment, which means you have to pay in order to access certain material. And what they did was they put behind that all of the assessments. Now, MIT, because our point was to open education, we and because we're MIT and a founding partner of edX, we were able to negotiate that we would not do that. And that only the summative assessment, because technically the summative assessment is not required for learning, although I disagree with that, but you know, that's fine. And so really in order, and so it's been a really difficult position with the MOOCs to have them on a platform that essentially is now moving towards more paid experiences, professional certificates, which is not what our MOOCs are. And so it's been interesting to see how our courses tend to not get to the front page of edX because they don't align with what edX is really selling now. And so it's been challenging because even if we want support from donors to help us keep the price down or to make it free, really because there is a price, a lot of people do not want to donate because it's like, well, if you're charging and you're MIT, like, why should I help you with that program? Which in turn makes us be able to do less of it. So really, I think that if we were to just make everything free, then we would be able to get more support from donors in order to make it more open and more available. And the other thing that I would like to say for open education to have a global effect is also the translations. And also, again, localizing some of the content. You know, so for example, I just had a faculty member come in to record a lecture about probability, and they went into great detail about Moneyball and baseball. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, a lot of the world actually is not really that familiar with the ins and outs of baseball, so maybe that's not the best example to use. And sometimes, you know, they consider that, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Let me do something that's a little more applicable to everybody so that you're not stuck not only between, you know, accessing material that's only in English, but now you're talking about a cultural experience that is not necessarily shared around the world. So now you have more cognitive load to get to learn the material. So again, I think making things as low cost or free as possible and supplying as much localization as you can. And I think especially with AI translations now, there's much more availability for that, you know, understanding that they're not always 100%. But it's also great to get people who can speak in different languages to participate in the courses. So for example, each MOOC has a forum. And so in some cases, especially if we have people who are really participating in the forum from other countries, if people are getting stuck on something, we may ask for their help and say like, hey, what's going on with this here? Like, is it not translating well? Is there a reason that it's not working for this particular? And there usually is a very good reason that it's not working for people. So it's being really open to understanding what makes the education more accessible to as many people as possible. And that's not just the content, but also the cost.
Yes, thank you very much. You have introduced some lessons and also some challenges like the availability, accessibility, and the translation, localization, customization of the content itself to be familiar with. This leads to the last question for Jetica, which is about, you know, you introduced HP, can say, macro credentials, programs, initiatives. What are the biggest challenges in scaling open skilling initiatives across the different region? And if you can concentrate about Saudi Arabia, your experience in Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely great question. So I think the challenge is always the content itself, the skills, they are generic. So HP Gaming Garage is truly about gaming and gaming design coding skills. But it's always important to contextualize, right? How do we bring it to the students in the given country, which are carrying a certain culture? So that's the challenge that we always try to unlock with the local partnership. There are other challenges, and I want to echo Dana. the language barrier is real. Not necessarily in Arabic, because usually Arabic is one of the first languages which we focus on translations. But when it comes to other, and I was actually listening recently, there are around more than 7,000 languages across the world, right? So there are definitely students for whom the learning will not be their mother language. So the way how to unlock this challenge, and I did not see necessarily the full solution in place, but I have my hopes, is generative AI models, which are helping now to translate with a certain degree of accuracy into the local language of the students. And maybe finally, and again, not everyone is coming from a family that allows to have a full access to not only a device, which is probably less a problem, but connectivity. So in certain parts of the world, the consumption of the content, which is online, so you have to have connection to internet, right, is coming with a certain cost. So again, I'm thinking out loud with you. The solutions are probably multiple, but maybe the one that we should be looking more holistically is making the mobile operators part of the equation of the partnerships, because they can help us to unlock the costs to actually take the consume basically the data and the courses online. So that would be probably the three set of challenges that I'm seeing, and paths for potential solution hopefully coming very, very soon.
Yes, thank you very much. Also, these challenges needs a lot of collaboration and efforts from uh, businesses, government, policymakers, academia, and should work together in order to overcome to upskill the the students, and to bridge the gap between the universities outputs and the workforce. Now we are at the end of the panel discussion. I will go to the Q&A box, and will have, I think, in front of me more than 10 questions, some of them in English and others are in Arabic. I will go for a question to Jeff. Is the IBM skill build for AI fundamentals would be accessible for everyone, free or with a fee?
Absolutely free. Everything in IBM Skills Build is free, and it comes back to what the panelists have been saying. When we make the content free, that's how we democratize this learning experience, and that's really what's at the heart of it. So yes, everything is free. You can either experience it through the self-paced version on the Skills Build website. You can also sign up for the GLEs. So we promote them widely when we run the courses. So keep your eyes peeled, and hopefully if it's something of interest, you can spot it and sign up. But yeah, absolutely. All our IBM Skills Build learning is totally free of charge.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. And also another question related to what you answer now. One of the questions here mentioned that, I mean, she had finished a course with you and has earned badges. She said, where should I list this achievement on my CV? Should it be under the skills or certification section? I mean, from your point of view.
It depends, because we offer different levels of digital credentials. So some of the courses, the more advanced courses, and we're talking sort of 60 hours plus, are really made up of multiple micro credentials, and to recognize the scale of that learning, we actually offer a certificate rather than a credential. And I think it's down to the individual, what they feel is relevant. But we try to make the digital credentials as flexible as possible. As I mentioned earlier, they're very much stackable, and you can choose to take digital credentials that you can earn within a couple of hours through to other courses which could be 10 to 20 hours. So that I think people can use them flexibly. I think for me, the most important thing is I hope they are valuable. So I hope that they can help people show their particular skill set when they do apply for jobs. And we know from the feedback we've got that they are respected by industry organizations, and ultimately that's the acid test. Do people recognize them as having value, and can people use them to show that they do have the requisite skills? I think we may have lost Dr. Saud.
So I take the opportunity. I saw there is one question in the Q&A for HP. So would HP offer open education chances here in Saudi? So the reality, we do already offer several programs. So the one that I mentioned during my presentation, HP Gaming Garage focused on the gaming design coding skills, but not only. There are other skills, upskilling programs for entrepreneurs, for teachers, especially for teachers to digital literacy, to learn how to use effectively generative AI in teaching and their own preparation. So there are already many programs which are running self-paced, and some others that we are deploying with our partners, such as National E-Learning Center or Tuwake Academy, and more to come later this year. So a similar message to as Jeff, just keep your eyes open. We are very often publishing all those programs whenever they are opening on our LinkedIn. And I'm putting here into the chat as well link to our platform at edX, which is hosting HP Gaming Garage.
I believe we've lost the moderator. So to wrap up, I'll give 2 minutes to each panelists to conclude this session. So maybe if we could start with Dana.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me. And it sounds like we all understand similar challenges and ways to handle them, but noting that it's a lot of work. Like there is no magic bullet that makes all of this work, and it takes effort from everybody. And I think that to Ika's point of like the collaboration between the different groups and bringing your strength to the forefront and acknowledging that other people have strengths that you may not, because sometimes, there can be egos involved in things which can make things very difficult. But really, it's something that I think that we can all work on together and make a huge difference all around the world. So thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate being able to share what I know.
Thank you. Jeff? You're mute.
Thank you. I managed to do it wrong once. I think for me, what's is great is there is a real appetite for learning in the kingdom, and when you have that appetite to learn, it makes what we do easier, because people appreciate the potential value of what we're offering in the open skilling. And clearly with Vision 2030, we also have a clear drive and vision from the government as well. So the combination of learners with a strong appetite for learning, a government and the government organizations that are supporting that vision, it's a huge and exciting opportunity that we have to bring this open skilling and really drive a change. So really looking forward to the coming years and what we can do. And as all the speakers have said, it is about a partnership and collaboration, and it's together we'll drive that change. And thank you for the opportunity to join the webinar and share some of our thoughts and experiences.
Yitka?
I was in Riyadh about 2 weeks ago. It was my first visit to your kingdom, and I was so impressed. And everything that probably Jeff mentioned, there is a very clear strategy of the kingdom, first of all. You know what you want. You know what you want to go after, and you translate it in different levels of your strategy. There is an enormous energy and ambition, which I felt in all interactions. So the appetite is here. And I think now the last bits and pieces is how do we put the different pieces of puzzles of the collaboration together to make it efficient for you and for us. So I think for me, the opportunity to be in your country, the opportunity to be with you today is just a reward of its own. And I really want to thank you, because working in this wonderful environment is extremely rewarding. And I'm actually very happy that I can contribute to your success with the small means and programs that we can put together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saud. If you could give
Thank
us
you very much. I'm so sorry for the the disconnection that's due to my internet. And really, I'm very proud and honored to be invited to be the moderator for this, with these experts in their businesses and also in their, career path. Jetica, Jeff, Dana, I have learned a lot myself. And also I thank the National Electronic Center, e-learning center for introducing such topics in this global, World Week for the open resources digital. And also I think that the audiences have got many insights into the importance of the open education for their adult education and both for their career path, and also how these macro credential and macro masters programs and initiatives from both HB, MIT, IBM and others to work together with the Saudi entities in order to reach our big and honored Vision 2030. I am very privileged. Thank you, every one of you. Thanks for the audience, and thanks for inviting me to be the moderator again.
Thank you. The unfolding dialogue and exchange of ideas during today's session have served as a powerful demonstration of the transformative potential inherent in shared knowledge and active engagement. We are profoundly thankful for your presence, which contributed significantly to the dynamic nature of our discussions. It is our sincere hope that the insights and perspectives shared throughout the session provided tangible value and broadened understanding for each participant. Our gratitude extends to Dr. Saud Al-Salahi, whose moderation skills navigated us through this webinar discussion, and to our esteemed panelists, whose expertise significantly enriched our dialogue. Equally, the active participation of every attendee has been integral to the success of this discussion. As we close, we turn our focus to continual improvement and growth. A survey link has been made available in the chat section, and we invite you to share your feedback and suggestions. This input is crucial as we strive to elevate our content and ensure future sessions are even more impactful. In conclusion, your time and attention have been greatly appreciated. We eagerly anticipate your participation in future discussions, where we will continue to explore exciting and relevant topics. For now, from all of us at the National E-Learning Center, I'm Zaid Rgeb. Goodbye.